When you think about getting older, what's important to you? What do you need in order to thrive later in life? The answer to this will be different for everyone, but most people would agree that maintaining physical function and having healthy quality of life are high on the list. And that's the focus of today's study. Welcome to the first edition of Healthy Aging Headlines, where we discuss new research that has been published within the last 2 weeks. These researchers collected sequential surveys from 11,336 women in Australia over a 23-year period to investigate the question of whether consistent physical activity influences health-related quality of life in later years. To measure quality of life, they used the SF-36, which is a validated questionnaire that assesses 8 domains, 4 related to physical function and 4 related to emotional well-being and mental health. These generate an overall physical component score and mental component score. In the study, being physically active was defined as consistently meeting the World Health Organization recommendations of 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity, or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity physical activity, or some combination of the two each week. The baseline survey was collected in 1996 when the participants were 45 to 50 years old, and the follow-up surveys were completed every 3 years from 1998 through 2019. The primary hypothesis was that women who consistently met the guidelines in all surveys during a 15-year period from 2001 to 2016 would report better health-related quality of life in the 2019 survey, at which point the women were 68 to 73 years old. A second hypothesis was that even if some women were not initially active, starting activity at some point during that 15-year time frame would also result in better health-related quality of life compared to those who were never active. Not surprisingly, the results confirmed that the women who met the physical activity guidelines the entire time, so from 45 to 50 years old on, had a 3-point higher physical component score at the end of the study. But this was also true for those who started activity later, by age 55. And even though 3 points doesn't sound like much, a 2020 meta-analysis reported several studies that noted a 1-point difference in physical component score correlated with lower mortality risk. And when broken down in the subscale domains, the differences were much more evident, ranging from 5 to 9 points. There was a statistically significant difference, as denoted by the asterisks, in the physical activity domains for general health, physical functioning, role physical, which relates to whether someone is unable to fulfill their typical roles due to physical limitations, and bodily pain in the groups who were active the entire time, the 50-plus group in blue, and those who weren't active initially but met guidelines by age 55, shown in orange, as compared to the magenta inactive group. Although the overall mental component score was not significantly different among any of the groups, there were significant differences in several of the mental health subscale domains like vitality, social functioning, role emotional for the group that started by age 55, and mental health in the 50-plus group. The authors clarify that even though the results were not statistically significant for those who began to be physically active by age 60 or 65, their scores were generally higher in the physical and mental health subscales compared to the inactive group, and the lack of statistical significance should not be interpreted to mean that the window of opportunity to start being active closes by age 55, but rather there may not have been sufficient accumulation of physical activity for the health benefits to be evident by age 70. So let's hope the researchers continue to follow these groups and report back with more information in the future. One strength of the study is the longitudinal format. Most research looking at activity and health parameters are cross-sectional, which means they try to match 2 populations by age, gender, risk factors, etc., and assess the health status of those who are active compared to those who are inactive. So it's a single snapshot in time from 2 different groups. In contrast, for this study, one population was followed for over 2 decades to determine how patterns of activity impacted their health. Overall, this study supports volumes of other evidence showing that regular physical activity has long-term positive effects on our physical and emotional well-being, and we can still benefit even if we don't start until our mid-50s and possibly beyond. But when it comes down to which activity can add the most years to your life, there is one clear winner. You're going to want to watch this video to find out more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week for the second installment of Healthy Aging Headlines.